Hello everybody, I'm Nora Burrows. Welcome to episode 3 of turning a fabric panel into a quilt. If you haven't checked out episodes 1 and 2, go ahead and do that. In those episodes, we took pieces of a fabric panel and made this lovely centerpiece of what will be our quilt. But we have more to go. We have more pieces of that panel to add to this. So let's go ahead and do that and let's finish this quilt. So here's what I'm thinking. I want to add another border before I add on my deer. And I could either go back to this wool fabric and use that, or I have some of this jean material. It's kind of like this dark blue, almost black jean material. And it's pretty thin, so I think it would be easy to work with. And so I could do this as a border, which could be kind of neat. So those are two options. I kind of like the wool. The jean material might be kind of a pop of color, which could be cool. So maybe I'll do the jean. Then for the deer, I am thinking two things. One, I want to keep this project here on out as simple as possible because I kind of want to be done with it. I kind of have lost steam and I want to push through. So the easiest thing to do would be to put all of these big long deer on one side and all of these tall deer on another side. But visually, I don't know if I like that as much. So I think I might not do that. Because what happens is if I put, one of these tall deer in the middle, I then have to add fabric to either side of it before I attach these together. Which is fine, it's just an extra step. But I think I will do that extra step. So what I'm gonna do is put, I'm gonna go every other one. So I have a big deer, tall deer, big deer, tall deer, big deer, tall deer. And I'll go all the way around the quilt after I add on my jean border. I changed my mind, and instead of those other two borders I had in mind, I put this blue stripe on. It's kind of that there. And this has kind of given new life into this quilt for me. Like I am back on track. I'm feeling like I'm liking this a whole lot more. This blue stripe really made the difference for me. So now I have to think about my deer and what I'm gonna do to attach the deer. And I had initially thought I was gonna do this light brown tan fabric, but I think it's too disconnected from the rest of the quilt. It doesn't look good. So instead of that, I wanted to use some more of this tan fabric. Since the blue stripe is now separating these, I thought I would do, this tan or this brown. Unfortunately, I don't think I have enough brown to do the whole quilt to attach all the deer with the brown. So then I was thinking maybe I would do the brown in the corners here with the green, and in that case maybe I wouldn't dislike the green so much because it would be pulled in other parts of the quilt. But now that I'm looking at that, the green is kind of blending, so maybe I would put the green on the border or on the edge and the brown to connect the deer. Kind of like that. And I think that could look really cool. So I think that is actually what I'm going to do. So what I thought I would do here is just show you a little bit of trimming. So I've connected all of these pieces for my next border. And as you can see, when I connect the pieces, I have these middle strips go a little bit farther over the edge. And that way I can just trim a nice line. So the deer blocks here are all in line. Because when I sewed them, I made sure to sew them that way. But these pieces connecting the deers are all a little bit longer, so I need to trim those. So what I do is I line the edge of my deer blocks all on the same yellow line, and I'll scooch this all the way down so that it reaches to the end. And then I will put my ruler right on top of the yellow line. And trim. But that only got half my strip, because I have this bottom part here. So I'll move this up. Now I'll do the same thing. The part that I've trimmed is all along this yellow line. This deer block is along the yellow line. So I'll put my ruler there and cut. So now I have a nice straight line on the bottom, and then I'll turn it over and I'll do the same thing with the other side. So you may be wondering how to line up the deer when the connecting pieces are wider than the deer blocks. And so what you do is, I'm going to pretend like I'm connecting this deer to this deer just for argument's sake, because this one has the borders on either side of it. So that one might be a little more confusing, but this will give you a good understanding. So if I want to connect this deer to this deer, but I have this border in the middle, if you want to be as exact as possible, what I do is you flip it over, putting right sides together, and you line it up in a couple places. First of all, you want to line up this edge here with the edge of the connecting piece on the bottom. Let's make sure that's nice and aligned. And then the other place you want to line it up are the sides. So if I were just to push this over and sew it, you can see that I have a little bit farther over on one side than the other. So you don't want that. You want to make sure that these are perfectly aligned so that you can't see your underpiece at all, like this. So as you can see, you have it aligned down here. If I were to peel this up, you could see that these are aligned right here and then aligned on both sides, the left and the right. And if you were to peel that up, you could see that the underpiece. So then you would just sew 1/4 inch right along this line, flip it over, and your deer will be perfectly lined up. I'm beginning to get really excited about this quilt. I think it's coming together nicely. I'm fairly sure that what I told you I was going to do in terms of fabric is not what I ended up doing, but I've gone through so many different fabrics that I can't even remember anymore. But what I ended up doing is, instead of, I think I said I was going to do green for kind of these corners, but instead of the green, I went back to this wool, which I think kind of ties things in better. In terms of the status, I have attached this bottom piece on here, but I still need to attach, let's see. So you may be confused because I just showed you trimming the edges of my deer, but now they're not trimmed. And it's only because I'm going kind of all over the place. So I had trimmed the edges for this and the other side. I don't know why I'm not just trimming everything at the same time and doing the steps in order, but I'm just kind of all over the place with this quilt, which is fine. So I also need to attach this bottom part to this piece and then this top part to this piece. But the quilt's getting so big that it won't even fit on the table anymore. It's kind of over the side, which is great. Here is my quilt thus far. It is all in one piece, as you can see, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I think it's looking really good. I'm much happier with it than I was, and I want to add a little bit more. I have this purple and blue fabric here that I think would go nicely. Here you can see a close-up of what that looks like. I didn't have enough of it to go all the way around, so I did have to make a seam there. So two of my sides will have seams, which is fine. And it ties in both the blue and kind of this plum color. You can get a little better angle here. There we go. Then I had a bunch of these pieces, like a ton of these pieces. So I put some together with brown connecting them. And I obviously need to trim this and make it longer, but I'll put a little strip of this on each side. And then to finish off the top, I want to do kind of a strip of green. And that will be my quilt top. So it's a nice size. It's definitely just a throw. I'll do the final measurements at the end, but let's go ahead and finish this up. The other thing I wanted to mention is that every single one of these fabrics were fabrics that I already had. I didn't have to buy anything, and I think that that kind of forces you a little bit to be creative and to pair things that you wouldn't normally pair, and to use fabrics that have kind of been sitting in your stash for a long time. So I really enjoyed that process. My quilt top is done. Notice I did not say that my quilt is done, and I am gonna end the video here. I did not want to go into a fourth video for this project, but I am. We are going to finish this quilt in video 4. So I know I said I was gonna finish the video in this video, but that is not happening because I really want to get this video uploaded. So I was a little bit stressed. I was trying to like rush so that I could get this full quilt done and put it into video 3. And at some point last night, actually I know exactly what point it was. It was when I was cutting out my backing because I was pretty close. I was like, if I can just get the backing on and get the binding on, I can be done. But when I laid out my backing, I realized that it was long enough, but it wasn't wide enough, and so that I was gonna have to do a pieced backing. And once I realized I was gonna have to do a pieced backing, I was like, let's just post this video and then we'll have a video 4, which is fine. And actually, I'm kind of excited about that because I love pieced backings, and I was really wanting to do a piece backing on this, but I didn't really feel like I had the time. So now I can relax, I can enjoy myself, take my time. I really like doing that big kind of pieces for the backing, so that'll be fun. So I will lay this out so that you can see the progress. I'm really liking this so far. I've had a total 180 turn of opinion of this quilt. I really like it very much, and I love this little thin border right here. Just that little bit there, I think, is really cool. So I'm excited for this. I'll lay it out, and I'll see you in episode 4. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you then. Bye.